Hello and welcome back to Jimbo's PC Builds. Today I'm going to look at the smaller brother of the LANCOOL 205, the LANCOOL 205m. It's the Micro ATX version of the LANCOOL 205. What I'm going to do today, which is a little bit different than what I normally do, is I'm going to do the normal walkthrough of the case, but then I'm not going to do a build montage or anything like that. Because what I'm actually doing is I'm moving my backup build from a current case to the LANCOOL 205m because it's Micro ATX and it's going to be a space saver for me. So all I'm going to do in the video today is I'm going to show you the walkthrough of the case as normal, and then I'm going to basically give you the conclusion. So it's going to be this introduction, build walkthrough, conclusion. Alright, without further ado, let's get to the case walkthrough. So the first difference you see between the M and the regular 205 is that the glass side panel goes from the very top of the case down to the side. It covers the power supply basement, unlike in the LANCOOL 205, which is only a partial glass panel. You do, however, take off the glass panel in exactly the same way as normal by removing the two thumb screws and then pulling the panel away. The inside of the case looks spookily similar to the regular LANCOOL 205. You get both a fan at the front and the back, like you do in the regular LANCOOL 205. You get the same three pass-throughs at the bottom. You get a nice gap at the front of the case for installing a radiator, which you'd probably, I think you'd only be able to fit a 240 there maximum. You won't have room for a 360. But the big key difference between this and the 205 is obviously the size. You can only fit a Micro ATX board in here, but also the cable bar has gone and has been replaced by two rubber grommets. So that's a significant difference to the regular LANCOOL 205. The front of the case is pretty much identical, but it's smaller. The front I/O is exactly the same power button. You've got two USB ports and your microphone and audio jack. You've also got a filter on top. I'm not too sure if you'd be able to fit a rad at the top because it depends on the size of the motherboard, but you'd definitely be able to put some, say, intake or outtake fans at the top. Once I've moved my backup build that I'm going to move into this, I'll be able to say comprehensively whether you'd have room for a rad at the top or not. I've got very much doubts right now. Back of the case is pretty much the same as the 205. The only difference is you've obviously got less PCIe slots, but you've still got the same cover the screw, so you have to remove the thumb screw to take it away. Taking off the back panel is the same as the 205. You simply remove the thumb screws and the panel just simply pulls off. Inside, you've still got the a drive cage down there. It's removable by you undo screws from below, and you literally pull it once those screws are loosened, and then you can take it out. So you can either move it further back from where it is to make room for a radiator, or you can take the drive cage out completely. You can put one hard drive inside the drive cage, but you can also mount one on top, and you can mount SSDs on top of the drive cage as well. There is also two mounting points for SSDs on the back panel here. You can mount them in the back, or you can mount them inside. There's a little very small pass-through for passing cables to them. I'm not actually sure if you'd actually be able to fit much through them, because to do it from the front side, probably, based on what I'm looking at, you'd probably put them in the back. As I mentioned when looking at the front, you've got the two grommets, so that's the fundamental difference. In terms of fitting the power supply in here, I think you might be able to have to remove the drive cage if you're looking to put an extended power supply in there. But for a normal power supply, I think you should be able to fit it pretty comfortably because the drive cage itself is actually quite small. Underneath, you've got one of these removable filters, which I'm not a big fan of, pun intended, and you've got the 4 feet as normal. So pretty much the case is just pretty much a smaller version of the 205. Once I've put my backup build in there, I'll come back to you straight away and I will tell you what my thoughts are and how it compared to the LANCOOL 205. Alright. So I've moved my backup build into the LANCOOL 205m. I have to say I thought the build went actually very well. To build in, the LANCOOL 205m is very similar to the LANCOOL 205. having the two grommets rather than the bar gives you, you know, a little bit different to work with, but you know, in essence, I think it looks a little bit neater and tidier. You've still got the same pass-throughs that you have on the LANCOOL 205. One thing I did notice on the back, there are substantially less cable tie points, which made cable management a bit of a challenge. And while we're talking about cable management, as those who do compact builds will know, when you've got a smaller case, you've got more of a challenge when it comes to cable management. And in the LANCOOL 205m, that's no exception. You haven't got a lot of power supply basement to hide cables in because of the less cable ties that I talked about. And also on the back plate, I've got an SSD mounted on there, which also restricts the amount of space and the amount of cable ties that you've got. So all in all, I would say it was a good case to work with, but the size makes it a bit more of a challenge from a cable management point of view. But I can't really put that on Lian Li for that, because that's just what you get with Micro ATX cases. All right, I hope you found that helpful. Please toss a like on the video if you liked it. Always helps with the old YouTube algorithm. Please don't forget to subscribe. And as always, and leave comments down below if you've worked with a Micro ATX case, or if you've worked with this case and have had a similar or different experience. If you've also got any questions about the case in terms of the layout, what you could fit in there, what you couldn't do. Yeah, that about covers it. And as always, take care.